I love exploring unconventional mark making, and I love doing that through unconventional mark making tools. So, since it is the season of Valentine's Day, I decided to do that with some different Valentine's items that I found at a nearby Dollar Tree. So, I am exploring what marks I can make using acrylic paint, just regular, super inexpensive craft paint, and then seeing how I can use the tools that I picked up at the store to create different marks, playing around with different color. So for this one, I'm stamping the bottom of this springed decoration. So it's giving me some lovely rings. It did occasionally make a bubble of paint. So I had a couple sections where it bubbled in, which was kind of interesting. So I decided to play around with different colors and different values by stamping back and forth into the different colored paints that I had gotten out. And this was a really fun texture. This could have been its own textured paper in and of itself. I love making these kinds of papers for my different collages, but I really wanted to just push it and see how far I could go. So this is another decoration. It's glittery hearts. They're kind of foam in material. So I pressed the heart into the paint and then stamped it onto the paper. And it created more or less heart shapes depending on how much paint was on it and how much I pushed down and how many repeated times I stamped before I got new paint. So that was awfully fun. I did want to make sure that I played with a variety of values and color so that I could have some variation and distinction between the different marks and each mark from the others. So this one was super fun, and it gave me a very different mark than the bottom of the spring thing. And then I wanted to go further, so I decided to stamp the top part of the spring thing to see if I could get the ornate curlicue design of it. And it worked and made for some really lovely, smaller, detailed patterns. And then last but not least was the bead necklace. So the beads are in a heart shape, they're just a little plastic necklace. So I decided to run them through my black paint so I could get more paint on a larger section of the bead strand and then stamp those down onto the paper. And the nice thing about these was they gave me a smaller mark, but they also gave me a linear element because the page did get a little muddled because I just went for it on conventional tools to make marks with. And then I balled it up and kind of saw what happened if I kind of plopped it down on the page to create less linear, more bunched up marks. So I lost some of the heart definition when I did that, but it made for some really fun stuff, and I really love the color and joy and energy of this paper. But then the fun of a textured paper like this is to do something with it. So I decided to fold it and to cut out a couple large hearts and just kind of use each step in the process as an inspiration for the next one. So I was able to get 4 large hearts out of my giant textured paper. And because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with them, I went ahead and folded it so that I could really control the heart shape. So I have 4 roughly the same size hearts, and each one was from a different section of the paper, so they each have a different feel to them. And I wanted them to pop, and they were really busy. So I decided to mount them on black mixed media paper that I had. So here I'm just playing around with placement. The hearts are very large, so it's limiting as far as how many I can fit on there, how many do I want to fit on there. So here's just me trying out some different compositions until I find the one that I like, which was this one. I really liked the overlap of that, so I went ahead and grabbed my glue stick and started gluing those down onto the black mixed media paper where I wanted them, making sure that I burnished really well so that everything would attach nicely since I was working with the paper itself that I'm gluing down isn't very thick, but with all that acrylic paint built up on there, it makes it a little tricky to glue sometimes. And then I like to burnish the backside to make sure it attaches. And I decided to write some text on here. So to ensure that my text went on straight, I grabbed my ruler so that I could put a little guideline lightly in pencil. And then with my Sharpie marker, I didn't want to risk not having enough room for Happy Valentine's Day or Be My Valentine, so I went with Be Mine. And I'm not the neatest of letterers, but I really do enjoy adding text to my artworks. So I just embraced my own lettering style and had some fun thickening these up and then erasing the pencil line so I didn't forget to do that later. And then I had my black Sharpie, so I wanted to kind of play with outlining some sections of my textured hearts just to add another variation of value and to kind of help pop some of the organic shapes and negative space areas that remained white on the paper from where the marks didn't go down. So I'm just picking a few here and there. I'm not inking everything, and I'm being super loose about it. so it's not taking me too long to kind of map out these different organic shape sections. It also adds another nice layer of texture to the hearts and kind of helps unify it a little bit more and just is a nice addition. I love adding black back into any of my textured watercolor or acrylic papers in any way that I can. And then after I felt like I was kind of done with that, I decided to go in and do some circles with the silver Sharpie. I like doing circles on top of my textured papers. And I accidentally went out of the heart on the top heart there. So I went ahead and broke the negative space and decided to go off into the black, which was really nice. That really created a nice element because the silver did kind of disappear a little bit into all that texture on the hearts. But by pulling it out and letting it overlap and expand off into the black background, it makes it pop more, which was interesting. And it also just kind of helped unify the paper by just having some random sized circles all over the place. Not creating any rhythm or pattern or any sort of symmetry or anything like that, just kind of having the harmony of it throughout. And I love how this turned out. I never would have imagined that texture paper could turn into this, but it did, and I love it. And if you also like it, be sure to click the thumbs up button on the video, subscribe to find out about more fun Valentine's things we have coming over the next week, and I'll see you next time.